Welcome to Legacy Leaders. I'm your host, Ann Marie Sorrell, President and CEO of the Mosaic Group, your award-winning global marketing, advertising, and public relations agency. Today's conversation centers around climate change and the upcoming Miami Climate Week conference and events. Joining me is David Duckenfield, the Executive Director of Miami Climate 365, a collective impact initiative that focuses on strengthening community-driven efforts to address environmental challenges across Miami-Dade County. Welcome, David. Thank you for being with me today.
Thank you very much. Excited to start this conversation.
Absolutely. Well, we'll jump right in. Give me a little bit of background about your role as the Executive Director of Miami Climate 365, and what is Miami Climate 365 exactly?
As you mentioned, it's a collective impact initiative, and what that means is we try to get NGOs and sort of non-governmental organizations and community-based organizations together around single goal towards affecting change in the climate space. So to work to adapt and mitigate to a lot of the changes that are happening climatically in our neighborhoods in Miami-Dade County, and the concept being, we should all work together instead of working separately, and together we can garner more resources to attack those problems that we're all facing on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you. Now, tell us, how did you start out, and how did you, because it's one of those areas, the environment, climate change, where it really isn't a lot of Black people or African Americans in that space. So how did you get into that role? I know you have a pretty extensive background.
Yeah, I'll go back a little bit, because as things happen in life, I kind of stumbled onto it, right? So I had the unique and pleasure and privilege of working in the Obama administration at the Department of State. And in that role, I was in charge of intergovernmental affairs and public engagement at the State Department. So I dealt with a lot of elected officials around the United States and with the public in general on foreign policy issues. And one of the portfolios they gave me was climate, right? And the idea being, how could we get elected officials in the United States engaged on climate issues, and not only at a national level, but at an international level. And this was back when, climate, you could still say the word climate. And so in 2015, I actually took a group of these governors and mayors from all over the country to Paris for the Paris Climate Accord, which is, they call it COP21, which is the convention of parties. And it's just the international organization that decided how are we going to work together as a globe to solve climatic issues. And that really got me into the subject matter. And then I traveled all over the world, speaking and listening at different conferences. And everywhere I went, Miami was always the first slide of the presentation. I could be in Asia, I could be in Africa, Europe. Miami was always the first slide. And I'm like, because Miami is ground zero for all of this, right? We are sort of the poster child of what could lay in the future if we don't really take care of our planet or focus on how to adapt and mitigate. So when I came back to Miami full time, I decided to really dedicate my time to doing this, and that's how I landed where I am.
So, David, you have a pretty extensive background. How did you get into the role that you're in now as Executive Director of Miami Climate 365? And tell us a little bit more about what that is.
So, as I was explaining with my time in the Obama administration, and I came back to Miami after seeing all of the different mentions of Miami and the climate changes that were happening here and the importance of it to the world. And I was approached by the Knight Foundation in 2024 because the Aspen Institute had a conference here called the Aspen Idea Climate Conference that ran from 2022 to 24 to really bring ideas and thoughts and experts to Miami to talk about climate change. And they canceled that conference after 24. And the Knight Foundation thought that we needed something to fill that void. So they spoke to me and other folks, including Michael Berkowitz from the University of Miami at the Climate Resilience Institute, and said, could we do something to sort of fill that void? And that's how Miami Climate 365 was born. Climate change is really what just happened in Miami the past month in February, right? Well, that is the definition of climate change. Why do I say that? Climate change essentially is a sort of long-term change in weather patterns and changing temperature. So if you just think back to what happened this past February, we had this Arctic wind blast come through. So for a couple of weeks, it was in the 30s and 40s, which is unheard of in Miami, right? And then a few weeks later, we got an announcement that Miami-Dade and much of Florida were in drought conditions. You're like, drought and that doesn't really make sense, right? How do we're surrounded by water? This is supposed to be tropical. What do you mean a drought? Well, we're in a drought, right? And then you have in these increasing temperatures every year, it's gotten warmer and warmer, right? 25 was the highest on record. 24 was the next highest record in terms of just global temperatures in here in Miami. So that those climatic shifts in temperature, the sea level rising, the shifts in temperature, and that's why we say climate change and not. For folks who are old enough to remember, it used to be global warming, right? That was the sort of mantra. It's all global warming. Well, it's not just global warming because we weren't warm in February. We were downright cold. But it's just these unexpected shifts that are going to be the norm moving forward, and that's what we're trying to solve against.
Awesome. Thank you for that explanation. How do you see the Black community playing a role in the conversation around climate change? I know that one of the things that has taken place over the last few years is the migration of people from the coastal areas into the inner cities, which oftentimes is where most of the Black communities are. So can you talk about, A, where are we in the conversation? And B, what is this looking like for our communities, especially when we're talking about sea level rise and I don't want to say climate gentrification, but maybe that's a word.
that is the phrase du jour, as they say. Yeah, Ann Marie, I think you're touching on something that is very important, which is, climate change really amplifies existing inequalities, right? If you want to get right down to it. Climate change isn't creating inequality in Miami. It's really just exposing and amplifying inequalities that have already existed, right? And so you see that in neighborhoods and historically Black neighborhoods, which are exposed to more flooding or heat, or have infrastructure gaps, like don't have the most updated sewage systems or drainage systems. So when it does rain, it floods, right? So there's that piece of it, which is kind of understood intuitively. But the other part, which you just mentioned, is a little bit more frightening, you might say. Climate gentrification. And what does that mean? Well, Miami's at sea level. That's when I was talking about going around the world and everybody looking at Miami. The reason they're looking at Miami is because we're at sea level, right? And what's going to happen with rising seas at a city that's at sea level? Well, we're not all at sea level. There are ridges in Miami, right? And it just turns out what used to be the undesirable parts of Miami, where all the Blacks were forced, right? Because everyone wanted to live on the coast and the water, and Blacks were forced to live far away from there. They're becoming more desirable because they sit on a rock ridge, right? It's called the Miami Rock Ridge. That just happens to be where Liberty City is, where parts of Overtown, Haiti are. So as you mentioned, those are becoming more desirable to developers and investors. The problem is there are people who are already living there. So you have a combination of the sort of historical neglect to these areas, together with the land pressure from people who want to sort of get to drier land, and it's exposing all kinds of fractures in the system and forcing long-term residents to move out. And it's something that is part of what we talk about, is something we're dealing with, and that goes into the housing shortages, and just how to sort of live not only with the natural disaster and climate changes, but sort of the man-made issues that we're facing as well.
Awesome. Thank you. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back, David, to talk more about Miami Climate Week.
Welcome home to Kitchen and Cocktails by Kevin Kelly, America's best comfort food. Guess what? Reservations are now open, and we cannot wait to serve you with the finest Southern food this country has seen. Kitchen and Cocktails by Kevin Kelly. Go to Open Table and book your reservation now, or find us on Instagram at Kitchen Cocktails with a K USA. Welcome home. Book your reservation now.
At DRT Behavioral Services, we provide culturally sensitive mental health evaluations with thorough treatment plans, incorporating alternative forms of wellness, not just Western traditional medicine. Besides medication management and psychotherapy, we provide education to people in the areas of minority mental health with classes on your diet's impact on mood and sleep hygiene for better rest. We also offer weight loss therapy, massages, and facials. Visit brainlovehelp.com today.
When quality care is a priority for you and your family, choose Pediatric and Family Health and Wellness Center.
Hola. ¿Cómo estás hoy?
Muy bien, gracias a Dios.
Okay. Bien. How are you?
Welcome!
Your organization's ability to thrive is dependent upon your vision, hard work, and the people you employ. Wolf Creek Consulting is a top-rated executive staffing firm specializing in placing professionals in finance, IT, healthcare, and construction. We're a boutique executive staffing firm that focuses on recruiting the best and brightest candidates that are not aggressively pursuing opportunities, but are keeping their options open. From recruitment to workforce management, we offer solutions that reduce your human cost and turnover. We work with clients under several different options to include permanent placement, temporary, and temp to hire. Our clients are our partners, and we work to understand the job requirements and skills required for a candidate to be successful. Intelligent Staffing Solutions. To learn more, please give us a call.
Welcome back, David. So let's talk a little bit more about Miami Climate Week. You touched on it a bit in your introduction, but I want to dive in more to see, what is the week about? I know you say the day to start, but what is this from the start to the finish? What does that look like? What can people expect? I see that there's a conference, but there's also probably, I think, 30 plus other event activations happening that week. So can you tell our audience more about the week?
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, Miami Climate Week is just writ large is how do you bring the community together, organizations, researchers, local government, and businesses to focus on climate-related challenges. And how do you do that? You do it by having a conference that gets into the nitty-gritty, very sort of academic piece of it, talking about infrastructure and finance, and the health implications, and bring experts from all over the world, and bring some community-based folks in as well to sort of grapple with those heavy issues and trying to come up with solutions. But it also includes really, literally hands-on experiences, right? So we start off with a big eco-fest in downtown Miami with the city of Miami, and the mayor is going to be there just to sort of expose people to solutions around climate change, and just to get together, right, with food and drink. And then it moves into other activities, beach cleanups, or cleanups in other parts of the city. There's going to be events at the Underline where you can do, they call it the Day in the Dirt, where you can really get down and dirty and do some planting and sort of help the Underline create that urban forest that they're really getting into. And then it extends to other workshops to learn more about how you as a community member can get involved with climate related issues. And then, there's certain, in terms of like what's happening in the Black community, because we want to make sure this didn't just focus on the sort of more affluent parts of the city. We want to make sure that the Black community is also brought in. So we're having events at the historic Hampton House that talks about climate gentrification, right, and displacement, and bring in the ACLU of Florida, talk about racial gerrymandering, and the Human Rights Walk, and having those sort of very heavy but very important conversations. We're having events up in North Miami at W.J. Bryan Elementary School as well. It's called the Food for Forest School, where they've built this sort of food forest behind the school, just to talk about the importance of sort of that homegrown aspect of what you can do in your own backyard in terms of being more healthy and organic. We're going to have a movie screening at the Coral Gables Arts Center called On the Edge of Hope, which talks about the resilience of communities that are sort of facing climate injustice, right? And then have people from the Commons Justice Director and education producer talk about those. And Catalyst Miami, some people might have heard of Catalyst Miami and what they're doing. So they're going to be leading those discussions. So as you can tell, it kind of runs the gamut. If you want to learn, participate in a workshop, go to a movie, go to a nice event in the eco, it's all evolved around how can we get together as a community and talk about and solve for these climate related issues that we see every day, right? The sunny day flooding, the heat islands. How do we sort of become part of the solution and part of the conversation?
Thank you. And so if I am listening to this and wondering, can I attend? Should I attend? Is there a cost to the conference? Is there a cost to any of the events? If I want to go, play in the dirt and plant some trees, who should attend? Who should be saying, you know what, this is important. I should definitely be present. If I can't attend every day, I can be at some function. So who should attend?
Everyone should attend. And the idea is to have something for everyone, right? So, there is a cost for the conference, but there are codes that we can use to have a discount or go for free, depending on your ability to pay that or where you're coming from. So that shouldn't be an issue. Pretty much everything else is free. You just need to sign up. We do ask that people sign up for the Day in the Dirt or for the Eco Fest or for the different talks, like at the Bass Museum or at Vizcaya. There are going to be talks there as well. Or just any of the cleanups. Some of the cleanups you go out in kayaks, other ones you go to parks. But the idea is it's open to everyone. It's open to meet new people, enter into the dialogue, learn how to be more responsible citizens from an ecological and basis, and how do you sort of really solve for, adapt and mitigate what's happening, right? So we know what's happening. We see it's happening. How do we get together and learn more and solve for it as a community?
So where can they find out information to register for the conference? And then all these other great activations, how do they find out or register for those as well?
So just go to our website, which is at MiamiClimate365.com. That's the official website. Yes, MiamiClimate365.com. Go there, and then there'll be a list of all of the different activations, and you just click on them. There's an Eventbrite where you sign up. It'll tell you when, where, and it'll give a brief description of what it is. And so you can go through. There are actually over 50 at this point. You can go. I don't know if you want to go through all 50 of them. Find out which one it fits you, right? But the idea, as I was mentioning before, we feel like we've got something that fits. At least one thing that fits everyone in the community, from North Miami all the way down to Homestead.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, David. And when we come back, we're going to talk about, for those who may not be able to attend, why, what you want to leave with them and what action can they take. So we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome home to Kitchen and Cocktails by Kevin Kelly, America's best comfort food. Guess what? Reservations are now open, and we cannot wait to serve you with the finest Southern food this country has seen. Kitchen and Cocktails by Kevin Kelly. Go to Open Table and book your reservation now, or find us on Instagram at Kitchen Cocktails with a K USA. Welcome home. Book your reservation now.
At DRT Behavioral Services, we provide culturally sensitive mental health evaluations with thorough treatment plans, incorporating alternative forms of wellness, not just Western traditional medicine. Besides medication management and psychotherapy, we provide education to people in the areas of minority mental health with classes on your diet's impact on mood and sleep hygiene for better rest. We also offer weight loss therapy, massages, and facials. Visit brainlovehelp.com today.
When quality care is a priority for you and your family, choose Pediatric and Family Health and Wellness.
Hola. ¿Cómo estás hoy?
Muy bien, gracias a Dios.
Okay. Bien. How are you?
Welcome!
Your organization's ability to thrive is dependent upon your vision, hard work, and the people you employ. Wolf Creek Consulting is a top-rated executive staffing firm specializing in placing professionals in finance, IT, healthcare, and construction. We're a boutique executive staffing firm that focuses on recruiting the best and brightest candidates that are not aggressively pursuing opportunities, but are keeping their options open. From recruitment to workforce management, we offer solutions that reduce your human cost and turnover. We work with clients under several different options to include permanent placement, temporary, and temp to hire. Our clients are our partners, and we work to understand the job requirements and skills required for a candidate to be successful. Intelligent Staffing Solutions. To learn more, please give us a call.
Welcome back, David. Can you offer, for those who says, this sounds great, but I am just booked this week and I cannot attend, what can they do in their personal lives, in their business, and or their community to make a positive impact on our climate, or even be a part of, advocating around climate change, bringing awareness to, like we talked about, climate gentrification? What can people do, even if they're not able to attend any of the events?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I would say the easiest thing, there's nothing easy, is the biggest thing is just reduce your carbon footprint. And that sounds like, what does that mean? It means, use less water, recycle things, recycle, not just the recycle cardboard and metal, recycle your clothes, right? Things that we used to do when we were kids, and people don't do it as much anymore. We have this throwaway culture. And plant a tree, plant a garden. Trees reduce the temperature by 10 to 15 degrees in your neighborhood, and especially in as I mentioned before, in a lot of the Black communities, things have been paved over. You have these sort of heat islands. Planting a few trees, give it a year or two, and it'll really reduce the heat. And that also brings with it health benefits, right? It also brings economic benefits, right? If you have shade, you pay less for your air conditioning, because your air conditioning is not working as hard if it's shadier in your neighborhood. So there are all those things you can do, and those are sort of simple things you can do. And get engaged, get involved. There's through Miami Climate 365, but all the different organizations that we work with Miami Waterkeeper, they're all about clean water in the Bay, the Clio Institute, which is about educating, Catalyst, which is about just engaging with the community across the board, the Miami Climate Alliance, all these different organizations, or some work more on the policy side or the science side. What we're trying to do is bring everyone together, but there are enough organizations around the county that you can get involved. I think the most important thing you can do is just do something, because every little bit helps.
I agree. And for our listeners who might not be in Miami-Dade County and are elsewhere, what message or takeaway would you like to leave with them as well?
I would say do the same thing in your community, right? Because this is a universal issue that we're facing. Obviously, it's a little bit more existential down here because we are at ground at sea level. But all of those things, being active in your community, be a voice in your community. When your politicians or elected officials are talking about things that are not environmentally sound, such as paving over across the UDB, the development boundary outside of Miami that doesn't exist, just be a voice, because elected officials pay attention to your voice, and just lead by example as well, right? And we can make change, but leading by example. I always tell younger people, I'm old enough to remember when they used to talk about when littering was like a thing, right? People used to throw bags out the windows. When I was a kid, people just did it. It just happened, right? Then there's a whole campaign around the country and communities and people and even ad campaigns about how bad it was to litter, that it's not good just to throw stuff out your window. And, it doesn't really happen that much anymore. And that's not just because of regulation or enforcement. Of course, that helps. It's just that the mind shift happened, that people decided that this isn't good for us. So just like that happened, we need to decide that we can make our community and our better and more resilient to all of the climate changes that are happening to us, and thereby lifting up everyone with that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, David, for joining me. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. I'm your host, Ann Marie Sorrell. See you next time on Legacy Leaders.
Thank you very much, Ann Marie.
At DRT Behavioral Services, we provide culturally sensitive mental health evaluations with thorough treatment plans, incorporating alternative forms of wellness, not just Western traditional medicine. Besides medication management and psychotherapy, we provide education to people in the areas of minority